I think the average age of an MBA is about 28 now nationwide. Right. That is significantly younger than in the past. So the sort of launch into management and the kind of tools and the needs that MBA students are bringing to the table are evolving with it, I think.
Welcome to a Wiser Retirement Podcast. Are you curious about whether an MBA is worth the investment? I'm Casey Smith. Today, I'm joined by Nancy Mercer, Assistant Dean and Director of MBA Marketing and Admissions at Berry College, and Dr. Lauren Heller, the Dean of the Campbell School of Business at Berry College. Each week, we bring you practical advice on retirement investing and planning for your financial future. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. Let's get started. Well, hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Casey. How are you?
So first of all, a couple of things. One is the last few podcasts, we flipped it. So people have been interviewing me talking about a topic. So I'm glad to be back in control of the microphone. Second of all, if you guys have not been to Berry College, go take a visit to Berry College. 27,000 acres of land. The campus is very, very attractive, and the education is quality. I say that as an alumni.
The deer outnumber the students 2-1, right?
Yeah, that's right. So thanks for coming down from Rome to talk about the MBA program. I guess in full disclosure, I have a vested interest in Berry College, so it might be a little bit biased. I sit on the Campbell School of Business Executive Advisory Council, currently as the chairman.
That's
right. And so I enjoy running 2 meetings a year with Dean Heller and working with Nancy and helping the program become even better.
And he's the business school's biggest cheerleader, whatever that looks like.
Yes, I have the award. I don't know if
I haven't gotten you pom-poms yet, but we'll work on that.
Oh, geez, no. Don't need that.
And the plaque is being made.
So I graduated from Berry a long time ago, 2000. It's an easy year to remember. And I'll say that my journey I'll say I don't think in any education you learn everything you need for life. That's part of life, and that's how that works. But it gave me the tools that I felt like I needed to get started. Yes. And it takes some ambition and your own work ethic, right? I think that
I agree.
So many people, they go to school thinking that if I go to this school, then I'm going to come out and I'm going to make $100,000 a year. And it does like that. And maybe in some careers by default, maybe not many. It usually takes a little work, networking, ambition. The networking at Berry, I think, is fairly easy because we are a smaller school. And so you try to help the others up that come along. But my time there was invaluable. And so I wanted to share a little with our listeners and our client base that listen to the podcast. So let's go ahead and jump into this. First of all, we all know what undergrad is. We go, but why don't we make sure that everybody understands what an MBA is? Give me the Cliff Notes, or the was it MBA for Dummies? What's that?
That does exist, actually. It's not our program, but it does exist. No, I would say the Masters of Business Administration is what MBA stands for. It's been around since 1908, maybe. Harvard was the school that created it initially. So it's a long-standing degree, primarily for students who are moving into managerial positions, leadership positions. Dean Heller, feel free to jump in. It's been at Berry, I will say, we celebrated our 50th anniversary 2 years ago. So it is a degree that's sort of specialized at a higher level of business, I would say. Anything you want to add on that?
And I think in this sort of modern age of AI and other things, and we might get on to this later in the podcast, but it sort of provides you a sort of Swiss Army knife toolkit of all sorts of different business skills that people use in their careers. A little bit of accounting, a little bit of finance, a little bit of strategy, marketing, everything that a manager needs to succeed and grow. As you said, Casey, it's about the tools you need. You still need the hard work. You still need the networking. You still need to, work all of those tools. Just like if you had a Swiss Army knife and kept it in your pocket, you wouldn't do anything.
So
right?
What's the difference between an MBA and an undergrad? Do you think, now specifically the last year and a half of undergrad? So you go through your core,
Mhm.
or I'm sorry, you have your core, but then you go through your specialty, so finance. So what's the finance? If a finance major gets a finance MBA, is it more like case studies? Is kind of the workload, and is that fair to say?
Yeah, there's more cases.
There's probably less like memorization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You cannot flashcard your way through an MBA, right? It's a lot more group work. That's very intentional. If I think about actually how the office is set up at Wiser, where we have different people mentoring and working and bringing different skill sets to a team, an MBA trains students to think in that sort of work environment. So, and I would argue, and again, we may talk about this a little more later, it's one of our sort of AI proof degrees in the sense that it's not just about learning a tool that then, AI can do flashcards, right? Very easily, right? It's about taking all of those tools and synergizing them and thinking strategically in different areas, in finance and accounting. And
I guess my question is, how do you fail an MBA?
Oh, well, it's happened.
It happened,
Stacey.
Yeah, it does happen.
I mean, it sounds like you just wouldn't be participating. You're just
much.
like, you paid the money and then you just didn't show up for anything.
Right. And that does happen.
Well, and it is about developing professionals in a work environment, right? So it's participating, but it's participating on a higher level. I teach an MBA course in our healthcare track. We do have a specialized track for healthcare administrators and managers. And I teach an MBA course in the summer that is cross-listed with different assignments with an undergrad course. I let a select number, and I very, very carefully choose them, of undergraduates sort of sit in with the MBAs in the summer and have different assignments. And what's really fun for me is come presentation day, our first set of presentations for the MBAs, I watch my undergraduates watch the MBAs make presentations, working professionals who do this, and their jaws are on the floor. And that's fun for me as a professor to sort of sit there and pop popcorn and watch, because the level of expectation we have for a working professional to present, it's not about reading your 3x5 index cards in front of your PowerPoint, or God forbid, reading your PowerPoint slides and not looking at the audience. This makes my heart die.
Right.
Right. It's much more engaging. And so it's a really neat learning opportunity to see that come together. So yes, it's participation, but it's taking that in a very applied context.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I would just add too, it really focuses on developing the person's leadership abilities. So at the undergraduate level, you're not probably going to graduate and move right into a leadership opportunity. But at the graduate level, you need that skill set. So you need to develop those skills that come along with making strategic decisions. So it focuses a little bit more on higher level decision making.
So let's talk about that. You think about certain careers like teaching. You get your master's and there's a pay scale for that. And you just go, oh, I have a master's, I get this much. It doesn't work that way in corporate environment. So how would you measure success at post MBA graduation?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to do that. So certainly MBAs do tend to have higher earning potential, right? But it's not just because, there's some pay scale and you got your master's and that's what you earn. It's about the tools they now bring to the table, right? Yeah. So it's about them to be able to be in a room and be a participant in conversations about strategy, to be able to be part of a management team that's working with people from a variety of different areas and understanding a little bit about, right, what the CFO is going to bring to the table, right, what the marketing team's going to bring to the table. So often that results in different titles and different earning that comes as part of that, but it can also result in sort of some intangibles in terms of upsides of an MBA. We've had an MBA student very recently who, after the MBA, bought her own company. She bought a store and is doing incredibly well. And using she credits the MBA with lots of tools to help her run that store, to be able to read a balance sheet, to be able to be thinking about marketing and strategy and inventory. And, we have other students who maybe inherited family businesses and can point to specific courses in the MBA where they saved their family business. What did you say, Nancy?
Yeah, that was like $20,000.
Right.
Just from a course that he took in the MBA program.
Yeah.
So
that's
fantastic.
And so, yeah, so some of the ROI can show up in a salary, but some of it shows up in other ways too.
What, how many times do you feel like companies are paying for the MBA? Because a lot of times companies have either reimbursement. Typically, I think it's reimbursement, right? Because if you weren't successful, they don't want to pay for that.
Right.
Yeah. It's funny that trend has changed, I'd say, in the past 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Gone are the days where you go and you work at a company for 5, 10 years and then they just pay for the MBA. I think part of that is that companies were paying for the MBA and then their employees would get the MBA and find jobs elsewhere, right? And so, so that's changing a little bit. Companies are doing some of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we still have some of that.
But we are seeing a lot more self-pay for one reason or another.
Yeah.
We're also seeing companies maybe pay for a certification or for a course for specific tools that they can then use at the firm.
Right.
But the nature of the MBA has really changed over the past 20 years. MBAs have also gotten younger than they did, maybe 10, 20 years ago. I think the average age of an MBA is about 28 now nationwide.
Right.
That is significantly younger than in the past. So the sort of launch into management and the kind of tools and the needs that MBA students are bringing to the table are evolving with it, I think.
Yeah, sometimes when the hiring slows down for graduates, they go right into an MBA program. Do you have a preference? Would you rather see someone go work for a few years and come back, or would you say an undergrad can go right into? I know it varies. Like probably like nursing or education. It probably, I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about at this point, but
you need a healthy
great
mix.
question.
Some people just seem to go right into it, and other people come back after a couple of years.
So one of the strengths of our program that I really think is neat is its diversity. So we have a decent number of students that come. About 59% of our incoming. I'm looking at Nancy because she's the one that pulled these statistics. So I'm citing my source by looking at her. But about 59% of our incoming students are not business majors. They come in from all sorts of different other majors that are.
So they're
then
coming to
looking
learn
for,
business.
Yeah,
at the MBA.
Exactly.
So if
we
you're
have
like an agriculture major, and then they have their own company or want to start their own company. Yeah, they have no business knowledge whatsoever.
Music. We've had biochem. We've had communications.
Animal science. It's a big one at Berry for sure.
All sorts of different ones. But then we also have these working professionals that really bring some wonderful things to the table from local companies. So up in Rome, we have a lot from our local healthcare systems.
Local industry.
Yeah, local industries, Mohawk.
We have Shaw.
Shaw, International Paper, some others, right?
Yeah.
But so what I think is really interesting is the mix that those groups bring to the table. So if someone were to say to me, oh, it's a recession, should I just get my MBA? My question back to them would be why? So what is it you're looking to achieve? What are you trying to, what do you really believe the MBA will do for you? Why are you here, right? There are good answers and bad answers to that question. And I think it involves having a conversation with an admissions team or somebody like that. One thing that we pride ourselves on at Berry is we really believe in a culture of mentorship and a sort of personalized, when I'm teasing with my colleagues, we call it artisanal education. It makes us sound like Whole Foods, I think. But the idea is that you can have a conversation about what might be best for you, right? When you get advising, you're going to get it from the director of the program, from the dean, and from faculty, right? We don't do paid advisors, other than faculty. So there's some distinctiveness there. And so I think it's a lot about the conversations you have to decide what that is for you.
Bringing it back a little higher level.
Sure.
Oftentimes we see online advertised executive MBA. What's the difference between an executive MBA and an MBA?
So an executive MBA traditionally is going to be directed at sort of a higher level student, someone who's already in a management position or a leadership position. Tends to have a little more structure to it, tends to be on the weekends, or maybe they meet every other month, or So there's a lot of sort of ways to progress through that program. A lot more expensive, generally speaking.
From what I can tell, they seem to be a lot more expensive, but a lot shorter.
They are shorter. And so they're sort of trying to capture and make the most of the times of executives who don't have a lot of extra time to be off work or whatnot, but very focused, I think, on sort of that higher level, perhaps C-suite kind of decision making that you need to be able to do.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And the market does recognize that it's shorter, right? There's a lot of
Yes.
if you do a Google search right now, you have a lot of people asking, is an executive MBA the quote unquote same as a quote unquote real MBA? And in some ways it's a different product, right? So, but yeah, the price tag tends to be higher. It tends to be fly them in for a weekend. And they'll, stay in very nice hotels and do some
and almost
intensive
always
work.
paid by the employer. The employer is sending that person through the program. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Are you a small business owner? If you're busy running a business, who's making sure your personal finances are on track? Download 5 Reasons Every Small Business Owner Needs a Financial Advisor, a free guide from Wiser Wealth Management. It's your blueprint for helping you keep personal finances secure while growing your business with confidence. Grab your copy at wiserinvestor.com/guides today. All right, let's get back to the episode.
So let's talk about types. We have a lot of online MBAs, and then we have a more traditional structure. What is Barry doing?
So I'm so glad you asked, Casey. So we're actually in the process of transitioning to an online MBA with in-person residencies.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, the MBA is changing. Students are getting younger, but also students are looking for more flexibility. Now we have working professionals that have families that are sort of midway in their career where they can't sort of drop everything to do a, full-time MBA track. And so what we've decided at Barry is we want to keep that focus on mentorship, keep that focus on in-person sort of interactions, right?
Engagement.
Engagement, but sort of condense it down, give some of the benefits of what we hear from an executive MBA in terms of condensing all of that down, but then allow the flexibility of online. So we have traditionally been a hybrid program in some respects where we've been sort of 2 weeks on, 1 week off in person. And what we found in feedback from our students is that's not the flexibility they need. They basically need where they would like the in-person, right? They want that in-person interaction. They need to be able to take entire courses online or not. We have an MBA student right now that's in Italy for great reasons related to her company. She certainly can't fly to Barry 2 weeks on, 1 week off, right? And so what we're doing is we're actually redesigning the entire program. It's very exciting.
Yes.
And so sometimes when people think online education, they think the pandemic, right? So they think, and that is terrifying. Nobody wants to go back to that.
Yeah, like loosely connected Zooms and
yes, that is not online education. That is emergency remote teaching. They are very different, right? So, so to do this well, it really requires a redesign of our entire program. We're piloting 2 different core courses this upcoming year: our supply chain course and our capstone strategy course will be online this year. We're also piloting some new residencies. So we're going to have an orientation residency up at the wind shape section of our campus of those beautiful 27,000 acres. And we're going to have students, faculty, and the deans, right, embedded together over a weekend with some really intensive group work and teamwork and analytic skills. We may Zoom in a pretty famous author, among some other things. So we'll see on that. That's sort of a TBD. That's a teaser. That's right. You got to come to find out.
So what is Barry offering right now as far as MBA programs? So there's different tracks. What are the different tracks?
Yeah. So we have a part-time program and a 5th year program, right?
Okay.
Or we could think of it more like a full-time program. So the part-time program is meant to be completed in 2 years. Students take an average of 2 courses a year. 2 courses a semester.
I was about to say, sign me up.
Excuse me. Yes.
It's a really slow progression.
2 courses a semester. And in doing that, it allows them to balance a full-time employment, right? They have to do it well. They have to plan their time, particularly toward the end of the program. I think all of them are, really doing that balance well. But when they do that, they can earn it that way. Or we have a fairly new 5th-year program that's really a year and a summer. So I want to be clear about that.
That's right.
But essentially, students can do that straight out of undergraduate and meeting certain admissions requirements. There is an elevated level of admission requirement for this program. It is graduate school, right?
Yeah.
So, but we have 5th years from Barry undergrad. We have 5th years from lots of other schools. Who come to Barry for the MBA specifically. And so for that is a full-time program, 4 courses a semester.
442.
That would always be in person, not online. Is it the part-time program that'll be online? Or?
No, actually both are transitioning. So one also unique, distinctive, I think, feature of our program is our 5th years and our part-timers come together in the classroom.
Okay.
They might be at different stages in their cohort, but they both take classes from the same faculty. And so that transition will work for both of them. So,
what are the different major offerings?
So right now we have a professional development track, and when we have a healthcare management track. Those are our 2 main programs. We have some things with professional accountancy, but those are, as you know, some changes in the CPA that's sort of going by the wayside. But really, most of our students are in the professional management track.
That's right.
But we do have some significant interest from both current managing professionals in healthcare. I don't know if you know about Northwest Georgia, but it's a bit of a healthcare hub.
It is.
Right?
You get some of the best healthcare in the state there.
And so a lot of those folks from our friends at Harbin and Atrium and Advocate and Advent, there's been a few buyouts, so I have to remember the new names a little bit.
Thankfully, they all start with A.
Yeah, that's good. So when in doubt, guess an A name. But then also we've found the healthcare track has been neat for, say, a biochemistry pre-med major that comes out of undergrad and for very strategic reasons wants to take a gap year before medical school and might want to learn how to run a practice while they're at it and have some basic business skills. Those students have been very successful in the healthcare track. Some folks like that. And so, and they're fun to teach. It's also fun to get such a variety of working professionals in the healthcare industry. I talk more about that track because I teach in it. But they're a fun group.
So what's the Barry in undergrad is known for reasonable class sizes, obviously. What's the class size for MBA track?
Yeah, we try to cap it at 25. It's incredibly important, the nature of MBA work. Our group work and more intensive activities. So, and that would remain the same when transitioning to online. People sometimes think, oh, the minute I transition to online, now I can be with 1 million people and you wouldn't even know. But that redesign also means that we need, in some ways, it makes class size even more important because we need those in-person and sort of one-on-one, I should say, interactions. So we try to keep it about there. Once in a while, we have big classes and have to mess with that. But generally, that's another thing that keeps us distinctive.
Yeah, rarely over 30
in
a class.
You think about, let's go back to career track again. If I get an MBA from Phoenix online, I'm just guessing because I've always worked for myself or have been basically self-managed.
Yes.
If I was hiring someone, if I saw an MBA from Georgia Tech versus Phoenix, that's 2 very different things to me.
Absolutely.
If I see an MBA from really any private school, in my mind, I go, oh, that's probably a good MBA program But then you think about cost. So cost, the spectrum is all over the place.
Absolutely.
I guess some of them are over $100,000.
Oh, easy.
Wharton's is 200 and some.
your top
200,000.
programs for sure.
Yeah. What are they learning there that you couldn't learn through other means? I don't know. It's probably the networking. If I had to guess, is what you're paying for.
If we're saying a top 5 program, I think the top 5 program
it,
is all about their alumni network.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
But for most people, the ROI on $200,000 doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I would definitely not go into debt. I love Berry College, but I often get the question, do I go to Berry and do I get school loans, or would I go to KSU and go for free? And I'd say go to KSU and go for free, because the debt is so hard for people to overcome debt, especially if you're having to take, if you're having to take out $15,000 a year for Berry, and you want to be a teacher.
Right.
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 It's like, that doesn't make sense.
And undergrad is so different. What's
and Berry has many programs that you can qualify for to get the cost way down. So don't not go to Berry because of that. You need to at least apply and see what's offered to you. But I go back to saying MBA. Why would you loan $200,000 to go to an MBA program?
I couldn't agree with you more, Casey. Right?
And do we have a deal for you?
I'm always surprised. I don't think I need an MBA. I'd like to teach one someday, so maybe I should get it so I can teach it. But when I hear about the price of berries, I'm always like, maybe I should sign up. Maybe I'll buy 3 or 4 of these things.
Right. Exactly.
So tell me how much it is. How much is it to get through the Berry program?
Total cost out the door, you're looking at about $22,000 for a Berry MBA over 2 years.
$22,000. I could probably justify that in the return on investment.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. So if you look nationwide, I think median ROI on an MBA, all of them is about 13%, which is still a pretty healthy increase, right? If you look at salary over a lifetime. But the median price of those MBAs studied is over $100,000. So when you think about getting a great MBA, getting smaller class sizes, getting really in-depth mentorship, getting some good networking, I will say.
I mean, it'll cost you $60,000 a year. Well, that's the sticker price. People don't really pay that for the undergrad. If you get the master's for 22, I'm like, okay, there's a value here. Every board meeting, what do I say? They need to increase the price, right? Every time I always say they need to increase the price. This thing should be at least 40, right? But so I think there's tremendous value, especially if it goes online. You probably could see a price increase because of the supply demand curve with you being an economics background.
True.
You understand that.
You're
supply
speaking my
demand
language, Casey. I love a supply and demand diagram.
I guess our last board meeting, we got really broken out into the P&L on a master's program. And
yes, we did.
All of us business owners sitting there going, we need to increase the price.
I was so excited. I should have known that the minute I show a spreadsheet to a bunch of business leaders, everyone's going to get excited. But I was like, y'all are my people.
We live in that world. Yes. Spreadsheets all day long. So, I mean, that's a tremendous value to go through this program. But I think that's how you have to look at it. I even personally, I'll go in my soapbox for a second. Like undergrad costs are so out of line with the rate of return. I think college is important. But I think the cost of college, it has to be really considered. Like you had a client one time, their son wanted to go into the ministry. And I said, what college does he want to go to? And they said, Duke. And I'm like, well, how would you spend $100,000 to go into the ministry? You're not going to make anything. It's a different calling, different rewards. In the end, they went to UGA and they did it under the Zell and it was free almost. Right. Yeah. So they made the smarter decision, the right ROI for that situation. But I firmly believe, and Berry, I think Berry has a heart on this. But I think academia across the board, it's get the students in. We can keep getting our 6% increase every single year, and they can get loans because the private industry will just fund this stuff because you can't even file bankruptcy. If you could file bankruptcy on it, then it probably would flip the cards a little bit, but you can't file bankruptcy. So we see people coming out with $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 in student loans. In their first year job, they're making $60,000 a year, and they're probably gonna be making that for a while. Right. And you can't. How do you overcome that?
Yeah.
So they really should say, this is my degree. This is the region of the country I live in. This is what I want to do, most likely be hired to do. And this is the pay scale for doing that. And then it tells you what the chances of paying back that loan are, or what your life looks like after that loan. And you should have to initial that. And it's not going to, the loan companies are just going to make the loan. Right. But I think the schools should be more involved and stepping in front of the situation, say, we'd love to have you here, but, and in Barry's case, Barry's in a great position to do that because there's so many applicants. And the school's not very large. There's less than 2,000 students on the Barry campus in the undergrad program. So they literally turn away a lot of people every single year.
They do.
So if you turn away one to say, this isn't a good financial decision for you, right? There's somebody else in line who maybe it is the right financial decision for them, or they have the resources, or our endowment just keeps getting bigger and we keep discounting our tuition. But it's just something as a planner that I see on the other side. I don't see the beginning. I don't get asked questions at the beginning. I get, hey, I have a student loan debt. What do I do about this? And of course you can never say it because it's already been done, but you want to say,
can't change it.
We do cover that in our personal finance courses. We do make sure students understand that student loans are you can't get out of them with bankruptcy, be careful, all of those things for that exact reason that you talk about.
Right.
And I am proud of the fact that Barry is a very sort of missional place in that it was founded from Martha Barry's desire to provide an education to rural mountain kids in Georgia, over 100 years ago. And so we have things like our Gate of Opportunity Scholarship Program, where students with hard work and with the participation of donors and parents and other things, if they follow the requirements of the program, they'll graduate from Barry debt-free.
Yeah, right. Correct.
Right, which is a really neat sort of way to think about this. But absolutely, I have a daughter myself. She's nowhere near college age yet. But we'll be having those same tough conversations, Casey, if she wants to go be, I don't know, an underwater basket weaving major. I won't call a particular major out today.
Right.
But they're not in the business school, the ones I'm thinking of. But.
Correct. Anything else you guys want to add to this conversation about the MBAs in general or Barry College MBA program?
Yeah, no, I think when thinking about costs for an MBA, it's really important to do your homework. So yes, our sticker cost is pretty low. Other MBAs sometimes advertise lower sticker costs, but then particularly at state institutions, you'll find they have a lot of hidden fees. Like all of a sudden you didn't know you were paying for the athletics department with, a $900 student fee per semester. That was literally my PhD alma mater. I believe that's how much I paid for Go Tar Heels, but I'm pretty sure that's how much I paid for those.
You should get that in here.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, I had to. I mean, he got Duke in. I've got to bring up my beloved Tar Heels at some point. That's right. So I would encourage you to, sort of reach out and do your homework and compare apples to apples. Make sure you know what you're getting from a University of Phoenix degree, right? Versus a Barry degree, right?
And we might want to touch on accreditation as well.
Oh, that's another thing. Another thing people should be looking for is they want a business school that's accredited. So accredited by, an elite organization. So for example, we're accredited by the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business, or AACSB.
Yeah.
As part of that accreditation, there are a lot of requirements for the training of our faculty, for the currency and publication of our faculty, for our student outcomes.
That's the biggest thing I've gotten from my time at Barry and volunteering my time is learning about AACSB. And as my own kids have looked at schools, that's the first thing I go to. Are they AACSB accredited?
Right.
And most of them are, at least the ones we've been looking at. There are a couple that
University of Phoenix is not.
Yeah, it's not. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, and sometimes it helps. I was actually just 2 days ago, I just flew back from Scotland and I was in Glasgow working on a partnership for our MBA, a potential international immersion with the University of Glasgow. They have an amazing business school there, the Adam Smith Business School, so it's easy to remember. And one of the reasons it's so easy for us to work together is we're both AACSB accredited. So they have knowledge that, hey, our students are going to have certain requirements. They're going to know certain things when they go through our program. So then we can work on a partnership and we can have our students work together and consult for real businesses doing real work.
Yeah.
And we have that as a baseline. So I would say definitely think about what, research accreditations and what they have, and make sure programs can look very shiny and pretty. and flexible and all of those things. But it's really about what are employers going to value. Ask about their placements. That's another thing students should look
what
at.
jobs they're getting.
Yeah, what jobs are your students getting that were different, right? That's another important point to think about when looking at an MBA.
Okay, well, thank you for doing this and coming in and talking about the program. And I think that certainly anyone who wants to advance their career, this is one program to be looking at.
Yes.
But more importantly, what's the important role of an MBA? It sounds like it really helps you with leadership. And my requirement here for all our young advisors, you start down the CFP track, so you're certified financial planner.
Sure.
But you think about as their careers evolve, at some point we need them to be me. And you have to become me either by reading the books that I read or going through programs like this. So
right. That's right.
That's really important. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're interested in learning more about Wiser Wealth Management or Berry College, you can go to our show notes. There's links to both us and Berry there. If you want to listen to more about education related podcasts, we have episode 295, What is FAFSA and how does it work? And then episode 287, William and I had fun with a topic called the financial stuff they don't teach you in school. You didn't hear that.
I've already seen it.
Related educational videos on the YouTube channel. How do I prioritize my financial goals? And then obviously, what is financial planning? The YouTube channel is A Wiser Retirement. Be sure to go there and like and subscribe if you like what you see. Thanks again, guys. And maybe we can do this again some other time.
Yeah,
Sounds great. Thank you,
Appreciate
Casey.
it.
Thanks for listening to a Wiser Retirement podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening. That way you don't miss any new episodes. We'd also appreciate if you could leave a rating and review. If you have any questions about anything that was discussed today, head to wiserinvestor.com and reach out. This podcast is strictly for informational purposes only and is not to be considered as investment advice or solicitation to buy or sell any financial products, securities, digital assets, or any other investment vehicles, or a basis to make any financial decisions. Wiser Wealth Management Incorporated is a registered investor advisor with the SEC. The host and/or guests may personally own securities, digital assets, or other investment vehicles mentioned on this podcast. Neither the host nor guests of the show are compensated for their participation, and no referral fees are paid to or received by any host or guest for clients, listeners, or similar interests. Investments involve risk, and unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor, tax professional, insurance professional, and/or legal professional before implementing any strategy discussed herein. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.